to 1950 concrete home, razed right to the ground. I mean, just rubble sticking up, looked like little spires of all the concrete was just flaking off. I mean, it was like a cremation, just absolute incineration. I do a lot of blacksmithing and forging. I use propane and coal, so I'm used to what 2,000 degrees roughly will do to steel, and I forge custom knives and machetes and all kinds of tools, and a lot of that stuff, knife collections and stuff like that. The things were so just bent and twisted up. I mean, very close to melting point, which is in steel, tool steel like that, it's 3,000 degrees. And I've never heard of a structure fire getting that hot without some kind of accelerant. All our propane tanks, I've had plenty of them, and I was like, and I have oxygen acetylene. I was like, dude, I probably blew up our house. But no, all those cylinders did their job. All the baffles and the construction of them, the modern way they're built now, they're meant not to blow up. None of them didn't blow up. Not an empty one, half empty, big, small. All of my propane and all of my cylinders and all of our neighbors' cylinders that I could see, with the exception of one that did have a rupture in the side, one down the way a little bit, an older propane tank, but not an explosive, not a giant explosion at all. It's still there. It just had a rupture in it. Like, what were all the thousands of explosions? Cars maybe, right? But this was sometimes multiple explosions in every second almost, like boom, 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 all night long. Thousands.
Because you were up all night long.
Up all night long, and everybody else too. I mean, everybody heard this. It's on all kinds of video and audio.
So what's your theory? Do you know what that could be?
I don't know. We asked some fire department what they thought, and they thought automobiles. They thought propane tanks, especially older ones, but even to them, I think some of this was baffling. The amount of these explosions. And some it didn't seem like they really knew exactly where they were coming from either, which was interesting. They're out fighting the fire, and even to them, it was always somewhere else, kind of, that it was blowing up. It was just, I don't know, weird. Everybody's really confused.
Continued in that same direction the entire
time.
Now, it wasn't as
midnight, 2 a.m, we're all watching it, still going the same direction, just whipping straight down. Right. So it never did seem like it was going to go, I guess, north-ish, or what do you call it?
And all the way around. It skirted the new development, which has a massive gravel area and all kinds of
Yeah, so there's all these fire breaks already, way bigger fire break than you could run with a bulldozer. Like you said, the bypass, all the concrete commercial area that didn't burn, all that stuff. And then the new development, which is multiple story wood structures. They're plywood roof still. They're in that phase. They're not even dried in. Those are just... you get big embers that are burning down a city, touch that thing, it's over with, right? There's nothing, even no asphalt shingles yet. That stuff was fine. And then right behind it are homes that are made of concrete and old growth trees that are wet, that are very hard to catch on fire, and all that stuff just came above somehow, came uphill, down into there, and through that grass. I mean, there's no shrubs or anything, just grass this tall, burnt down all of Waikuli.
But from Laniapoko to Waikuli, that's usually a very calm, protected, in the wind shadow of the West Maui Mountains. So I just find it so interesting that the winds were able to prevail the way that they did.
Yeah,
it's just
like
wild.
The mountains weren't there almost.
Correct.
Yeah, it was just like straight through the mountain.
It's like someone was holding a blow dryer.
Literally,
right?
We said that. Yeah, it felt like that too. It was that kind of hot. Dry air just forcing its way through that.
This little ball, showing this little ball of a hurricane. He said it was a tight, small, powerful hurricane going 500 miles to our south and just completely out of the path, and it was just dismissed. Whereas normally, Hawaii, they overplay the danger of hurricanes. They're all going to hit. We're all in the eye of the storm. It's all going to be a direct hit. Go sell some plywood. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's overkill every single time.
Down the hatches,
And this time it was like, you're safe, don't even think about it.
Yeah, it's a very protected spot, Lahaina. And you got these old buildings, 1812, the school. I mean, the Lahaina Front Street, over 100 years old, everything there, made of wood. How did it not burn down ever before until modern? A jewel of the good old U.S. of A. This isn't a struggling country in a third world zone with no resources. We pay full-blown taxes here. We're still not allowed on our properties. We've never been allowed back, and they're already talking about putting this kind of polymer sticky stuff down over the top because of the potential toxins, which makes sense, but then we don't know what that stuff is, and it's supposed to be pink, and they're going to spray it over 5 square miles over people's homes, and we still have a lot of us.
I've also heard from scientists around the world that are paying attention to this, and they're saying that that particular solution is not necessarily, it can catch fire, is what somebody told me. So, and there also should be a lot of digging going to excavate down. There needs to be excavation of the soil. What is the plan to protect the soil?
Still have stuff of value that we can recover, and we've never been allowed to. And I mean, you got National Guard on every street. It's super military driving around here. We've heard of arrests now of people trying to get to their homes. They're taking it seriously. They put in the news. One of the county directors said there's a zero tolerance policy for homeowners returning to their homes. You know, that was his words, zero tolerance. We're going to arrest people. It's just like,
But we're still paying our mortgage.
well, because it's so dangerous, we'll deal with that.
Still paying the mortgage.
Still paying our mortgage. We'll put our respirators on and keep ourselves safe. Like
Right.
that should be just a
Right.
right of everyone.
If
who has a
mainlanders
property here.
can come over here that are workers with the right equipment, they
That's
can
right.
they can facilitate you guys to have a
Sure.
visitation, if you will.
Just even if it's escorted in
Right.
or whatever.
If it's safe for the President of the United States of America to stand at ground zero for a few hours and
Yes.
give a speech, we were down there. I'm sure there's some toxic stuff, but if people choose to take the risk and they wear their appropriate safety clothing, but notice nobody there had a
Nobody
mask
there did.
on.
That was
Right?
amazing to me.
I've got people calling me from Switzerland, and I've had NASA call me, different people that are saying, hey, they are not keeping with the normal protocol
Yeah.
for this kind of a disaster, for
bet.
this kind of a crime scene.
It sure feels that way.
Things are being removed, things are not being transparent.
So much of the media is full of questions that are they couldn't be more useless.
Correct.
They're over and over and repetitive in nature. They're so basic. They're so useless there's no information in them. You know, how did that make you feel? You know, all these kind of things. And it's just like, we need to know, like you said, what are we doing moving forward, and what is the plan? Because as far as we all know, as a group of citizens concerned about the welfare of this entire city, it's like no one's done anything. It is an open secret that the death toll is much higher than they're saying. And like I said, I realize they have all this protocol to go through, but why not at least gear people up for that? We have 1,300 to 2,000 people missing. We live on a tiny island. They're not hanging out in the woods that I know of.
There's nowhere to go.
They're probably dead. And why compartmentalize the knowledge like the government loves to do? Compartmentalize everything. You'd only want to do that if you're trying to hold back, hide things, right? It's like, there's nothing to hide, right? Especially if they're calling it a wildfire. Well, then open it right up
Right.
to absolute global cooperation and
Treat it
support.
like a wildfire,
Yeah.
if that's what it
That's
is.
right.
We know it
Yeah.
isn't.
We know it is.
We know it's not a
Absolutely
natural disaster.